where are logs? Where are the logs? Right? So as a team coming in, you want to be able to figure out where these logs are. The logs are stored for a few different reasons, right? Troubleshooting problems. So these are non-incident type of reasons. If you're troubleshooting problems, you're analyzing trends or patterns, and then when you do have an actual incident, these logs are very, very helpful. And you do logging at different levels, right? You can do logging at the firewall or the proxy way out closer to the internet. You can do host-based logging where the individual Windows system has events, security events, and execution of applications logged, if that's what you're logging. So you have quite a bit of range of different logs that can be looked at and that can be very, very helpful. Server applications generally have logs built in, right, that are separate from the operating system and other software because, like I said, they're very helpful in maintaining. You can check the health and the status of the device, and you can also, if you have any errors or if you have any issues, the logs will show you what those issues are, right? Web servers, database servers, DNS servers, and then even your intrusion detection systems and IPSs also have their own, generally the separate set of, and then you can aggregate those logs. So log content, most logs contain pretty close to the same things, right? There's a timestamp, a date and time of when it happened, the IP addresses, if we're talking about the network, items, or web logs, right? User or system account names that either access it or used it. And if there are error or warnings, there are severity levels usually, or just straight out some sort of warning banner that says this is what went wrong. It can be informative. The key to logs and log aggregation that you have to understand is the log, time, and date stamps can and often are run off of different times, different time zone standards, if you will. Some log off of UTC, some log off of your current local time zone, depending on what the NTP, the Network Time Protocol device that you're using, what does it run off of? The logs may automatically get time-stamped based on that, which would be nice if all of them are and they're aggregated into one large server. Well then, good, your times are all pretty standard. That'd be great. That's part of what makes log correlation difficult, is that that timestamp issue. If you're not sure exactly what times and what devices are running off of what time, then that can be an issue. And again, the format, are you talking UTC? Because some of them actually put a stamp on there and tell you what time zone or whatever type of time they're using. And some just put, October 13th, 1405. But, you have no idea. Is that what time frame are you looking for? So. Right. Logging challenges. Is logging enabled, period? A lot of times people just don't use it. That's a real simple win, a real simple fix to a lot of things in the security forensics or incident response, right? If you can at least get a picture of when something happened, if something anomalous happened. So logging is it, right? And to what degree do you use it? Again, you don't want to get so much data that all you have is just a glut of log information, but you want to make sure the key components that you're interested in protecting or interested in keeping an eye on are part of the list of components that you're logging for, right? So you want to keep it to a minimum. And just like I mentioned, the formatting issue that I mentioned already, whether or not the time zones are right, and then also since they're in different formats. And some of them aren't stored, some are clear text, and some are stored in some proprietary format. So it just looks like a bunch of ASCII characters in addition to some letters, actual letters and numbers actually in there. So you can't just, it's not necessarily human readable right from its source. So sometimes you'll have to deal with those kind of logs as well. Do you need a viewer of sorts, or do you need the application that actually pulled it to kind of look at it to be able to correlate with it? So keep that in mind when you're doing log analysis, log correlation during digital forensics. Some of it is in the ASCII text format. Sometimes they're binary, and sometimes, like I said, they're proprietary. So with the mix, getting them to be normalized, if you will, so that when you're looking at the times and you're looking at the information, to be relatively normal so you can actually do your correlation may take a significant amount of work up front. So understand that going forward. And log correlation, right? Minor time deviations between different logs cause serious issues. Sometimes you even have, even though you can figure out what time, if they're using UTC or local time, if you don't have an NTP server, maintaining all servers and all machines to kind of use the same time, whether or not it's logged in a different type of time, the actual time may be off. One may be 5 minutes earlier or slower. So there may have to be some investigation involved with trying to figure out actually what time is it right now on this machine versus that machine. So understand that, and you'll have to work through it. And you can, like I said, you can use a known good time to help identify any deviations, right? And then you want to hash and archive a copy of the logs before any activity, so you have a good copy. So it's similar to what you do. You don't want to work on the actual logs that you pulled down. You want to work on a copy of them. And that way, if anything happens to them, they get destroyed, they get changed in some way, you'll still have a good copy, and you can use that for your evidence. Okay. Linux has a lot of logging inherent to the operating system, and most of them are usually located in the var/log directory. So in a server type of environment, since it becomes such a large set of files, that that particular directory is often put in its own partition and given lots of room. So here are a few of the common ones. The authentication, what users authenticated, is in the auth.log. The DMESG log is the kernel ring buffer information. So from a CPU standpoint, it's a little different than user land and kernel land. When you're talking about a kernel, they have rings. And ring 0 is the closest to the CPU, if you will. So any information that traverses ring 0, ring 1, etc., that information is kept in the DMESG file. For the most part, that sort of information is very, very down in the weeds. So unless they're doing something with the actual CPU or something unusual about their processing that they're doing, you probably won't need that kind of information. And of course, the mail log deals with the mail servers. Excuse me. And many of the server applications still they store their logs in different directories, not necessarily in the var log directory. So you'll have to figure out what applications reside on the machine and then find out where those logs are. Sometimes it's easy as locate splat or *.log, and you can find where a lot of them, not all of them are named .log, but a good number of them will be. So you might be able to find where logs reside excuse me, by using that technique. And then the Windows logs, it's a little bit more regimented or structured. They have logs in 3 main categories: their application, security, and their system event logs. And they have an event viewer It's kind of a nice GUI to look at. It not the kindest interface, not the easiest interface, and sometimes it's kind of a pain to look at, but you can turn different types of logging on in auditing, and it will show you when those things happened. And then a syslog server. This is the aggregating device, if you will, or server. This server collects and stores logs of all the other devices, or at least the other devices that you're willing to put on to it. So it's kind of nice. You can back that the hard drive of that server up periodically and store that in archive, and it makes it much easier than trying to come up with a plan to do 4 different, in this case, your web, your database, your DNS, and your mail. If you have all the logs, go to your syslog server, all you have to do is do a backup of this information, and you can archive this information, and you can leave that stuff alone. So that makes it quite convenient. And also for the forensic examiner, you can go to one source and you can find all your information you need. Unless you want to get the the most up-to-date information is generally still carried. Well, if they have logs on board, a certain amount of logs on board, you can catch the freshest, if you will, logs on the actual individual boxes. Otherwise, you'll go to that syslog server when you go to look for it. Right? You pull your IDS. Also, in addition to those 4 types, you can push your IDS logs, your router logs, your server logs, and anything else, proxy logs that you would want to put there. It's nice because then you can also, if you're able to normalize the information in the logs, you're able to run a filter on a significant amount of the information just from one source. So that can make life a lot easier.